Ladies and gentlemen, life's a fight. We're back for another episode. I'm here with a friend of mine, John Hyde. Now, I want to explain him before we obviously put him on camera. John is a man that's in recovery. He's a man that's been through ups. He's a man that's been through downs. Now, I'm all for all these people from all different walks, talks of life, sharing their experiences on social media, because a lot of people take a lot out of obviously what they've been through. This man is just a fly on an elephant's back in regards to he's only got a small following, but I promise you the more eyes that are laid on him, the more people that are going to end up watching him, because he's a man that once you start watching, you'll continue watching obviously as time goes on. Johnny Hyde, I continue watching you every single morning, my brother, and it's a pleasure to have you on my podcast, brother. Welcome.
Thanks for the opportunity, brah.
You're a good man, brother. You know, it was funny. I was sitting down with my mum the other night, and she goes to me, "Oh, Max," she goes, "You've got to watch this bloke." And she showed me your Instagram profile, and I called you straight away.
Yeah, I stick out like dog's balls.
Well, you definitely do stand out. But you know, look, not only obviously do you have that look, but you speak real from the heart. And Johnny, you know, you've obviously become a close friend of mine. Yep. You know, and I love what you're for. You speak real, you speak raw, and a lot of people watching are going to be able to take a lot from you, my man. So, you know, I'm really excited to get into it.
Mad, same, bro.
Let's get it. So, mate, look, obviously the show's called Life's a Fight, you know, and you are a first-hand witness of that. You know, you fought inside the ring, you fought outside the ring, and I'm sure, mate, have you fought many demons before?
Mate, I've been fighting my whole life. I think as soon as I come out, I had my hands up, you know what I mean? I was buying the 8 ball from day one.
Yep, you are, and you're a prime example of that, you know. Like, what I love about you is, look, anyone watching you, and a lot of young blokes, you know, they might walk around with a chip on their shoulder, or they might think, I got all the tattoos, I'm the toughest man in the world, but your story is going to be able to show a lot of these people that doesn't matter how many tattoos you've had, doesn't matter how many fights you've had, mate, we can all get knocked down.
100%, mate, 100%.
So, Johnny, tell me, mate, let's dive right in, obviously, to the deep end, mate, you know, and tell me about your childhood. You growing up, explain, obviously, Johnny as a kid, you know, and what you've been through, all that sort of stuff.
No worries. So, Johnny as a kid, I was born into a family, a long line of violent alcoholic men.
Yeah.
I was exposed to the elements from day dot. You know, my old man was a really, really hard drinking, hard, violent man. We grew up in housing commission. You know, there was no arguments in my house as I was a kid. There was no groundings. Like, if my uncle and my old man or my uncle, my old man and my grandfather, if there was a disagreement, it was on. You know what I mean? There was none of this talking your problems out or anything like that. Like, as soon as the shit hit the fan, there was fucking punches flying. And, you know, as I said, I sort of come into the equation, obviously very young because I was a kid. And, you know, from day dot, I was exposed to toxic masculinity. I was exposed to ugly blokes, you know what I mean? And, you know, I don't ever remember thinking I'm going to pick that up and run with it, but, mate, I just got exposed to a lot of heavy stuff very, very early on in the piece. You know, there was a lot of, as I said, there was a lot of violence at home. There was a lot of violence in my neighbourhood. I grew up in housing commission around Lidcombe, Auburn.
Yep. Were you an angry kid?
Mate, I wasn't. I was a kid that was. I don't know whether this was a direct result of the blokes in my life, but I always felt less than. Yep. I always felt fucking shit house, you know what I mean? And that's what I was sort of saying about that fight. You know, I was battling the stuff that was going on in between my ears as far back as I can remember. Yep. Like a square peg, round hole. You know, a really good example is, like, I was a fast runner as a kid, but I was too scared to go in an egg and spoon race. So if I had to do a piss in school, I was too scared to put my hand up. Like, I knew I was sort of capable somewhat, but I just had this fucking mad head that just was at me fucking 24/7, you know?
You mentioned that you sorted a lot of your problems out as a kid through violence. Now, in your household, and you obviously growing up, did you know how to communicate? Did you know how to open up? Or is it all sorted with the hands?
Well, as I said, mate, in my household, there was no communication at all. Like, if there was anything sort of like that, if I went to my old man and said, I feel like this or I feel like that, I'd fucking cop a backhander. There was, I guess, back in them days, and I guess it's probably still the same in some areas these days, like, there was none of that father to son positivity. Like there was no, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on. It was like, shut up, shut up and fucking get on with it.
Get on with it.
Get on with it, or I'll give you something to cry about.
Yep.
I'll give you something to whinge about. You're going to whinge, I'll give you something to whinge about.
Yep.
So there was no communication in my house. No positive role models at all in my life.
Were you an angry kid?
No, well, as I said, I'd blow up, but 9 times out of 10, I was tapped into all that stuff that was going on in my head, like that neg rave and that negativity, that shit living from day dot. Yep. But once I blew, I definitely kick off.
I can imagine what you would have been like because I know what you're like now. But so obviously, mum, dad, brothers, sisters in your household.
Mum and dad were sort of separated pretty well straight away.
Yep.
But dad we were sort of all. I was either in that household or I was in mum's household. So mum and dad not together, but me and my sister were in the same house. In the Housing Commission, yeah.
And it was obviously that you were open to a fair bit of violence, but as Johnny, as a kid, was there anything sort of that you look back now and think, fuck, that was a tough moment to go through? Anything that sort of, as life's gone on, you look back and think, fuck.
100%. Well, not only was I surrounded by violence and garbage within the household and the neighbourhood, but there was a lot of predators around. I guess there fucking is still now, but when I was a kid, there was predators everywhere, and I got caught out. Believe it or not, I got caught out by some older kids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I mean sexual predators.
Yeah,
and one thing that really stuck with me is me and my mates, we used to go riding around and we used to hang around this park in Lidcombe. It was called Phillip Park, and there was these canals there. And they were called the Darkies. And anyway, me and my little mates, we used to ride our pushies in there. And this one predator must have been keeping his eye on it, and he'd see us. And somehow we ended up sort of talking to this bloke, and mate, me and a girl ended up in a car with him. And I was young, man. I was probably only about, I was probably 5 or 6, maybe.
5 or 6.
Yeah. And I ended up in the car with him with this girl, and obviously this bloke was interfering with us, and, this happened and that happened, and I got the opportunity to leave. I got the opportunity to get out of this car, and speaking of one of them things, did this affect you? Whatever happened, and you accept what happened, but I carried getting out of that car and leaving that girl for my whole life, bro, you know what I mean? I felt like the most putrid fucking dog, because I left this kid, but I mean, what was I going to do anyway?
Yeah.
But
do you still carry it to this day?
Listen, I've dealt with a lot of my stuff. A lot of my stuff, in recovery, they talk about getting in and delving into your secrets. Your secrets keep you sick. Getting that stuff off your chest. And me, I'm so fucking stubborn, and I've let some stuff go, but a lot of stuff I kept with me. I didn't want it getting around the rooms of AA or in society, so to speak. That ugly stuff. I didn't want to hear that getting talked about in my business, So I carried it for years. And
but do you think by maybe going, whether you've still got stuff now or not, by maybe even going to see a psych or speaking to one of your mates that you feel comfortable with, whether it be a problem that you've dealt with or a problem that you haven't, might help you for anyone that might be watching?
Mate, 100%, and that's sort of what I was getting to. So throughout the course of my life and my recovery, I got to 20-odd years sober, and I'd accomplished so many things, and the bluebird of happiness didn't land on my shoulder. I was sort of stumbling here, tripping there, and I was angry there and fucking cranky over there. You know what I mean? I'm one of the old blokes. You remember Jack?
Jack.
Like 50 years up.
Yep. Yeah.
Old,
yes.
hard knockabout, real good old bloke.
Yep.
And he was the first positive male role model I ever really met in my life when I got sober.
Yep.
And every couple of months, every couple of years, he'd say to me, "You got to get rid of that stuff." And he didn't know what it was, but he knew there was something in me that was eating at me. And very, very quickly, I knew that there was a few fighters around that had seen this old alcoholic priest. Now, he's not like your general priest, so to speak. This is an old knockabout priest that was in recovery. And they they went up and they spilled their beans with him, and I thought, well, if it's good enough for them, I respected these blokes, and they sort of went up, spoke highly, and I thought, fucking hell, I've got to do something, because I just kept...
It's on your chest.
I just kept struggling and stumbling over these particular...
How old were you at this stage?
Mate, it was only a few years ago.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean? I was probably 20... I think I was about 21 years sober when I finally got rid of all that stuff that had been cooped up my whole life, the stuff that was poisoning me.
Yeah. And we obviously don't need to dive into all the trauma, but you obviously had that experience. And going as you get, that's obviously early days, 4, 5, 6. How were you obviously as a teenager going through?
So you get all that childhood trauma and all that fear and insecurity and all that, just that fucking shit piled onto this little kid, and then you pour grog on it.
Yeah.
And I was one way before I started drinking, and the minute I had it, it was like I was fucking 10 foot tall and bulletproof. It coloured me in.
When did you start drinking?
I started drinking fair income when I was probably about, 13, 14.
Yeah.
But it was like, you hear some people, they go for 20 or 30 years, they cross this magic red line, and then they think, fucking hell, enough's enough. For me, it was just, it was on. So
tell me about, obviously, your addiction now. For those that are obviously at home, you're now 22.
24.
24 years, clean and sober.
Yep.
And what was doing the damage for you?
I'll tell you exactly. So I was one of those blokes, as I said, previous, I was always second guessing myself. I was always dirty on myself. I always felt less than. I just was a fucking odd little bloke, with all that stuff. And once I had my first drink, it was like I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. It filled me in, so to speak. And talking about the old man and all that past indiscretion, it took me about 2 schooners to learn it all. I learned all of it. As soon as I had my first drink, it was blackout, it was violence, it was coppers.
Yeah.
It was just unpredictable, ugly, just fucking garbage from day dot. And if it had just been going out, getting on the piss, playing up, cracking on one of my mates' missuses or belting one of my mates or whatever, I'd still be doing it.
Yeah.
But what happened for me was I'd do what I did when I was full of grog, and no one could tell me. But then when the next morning turned up, I was fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd come to the next morning from as far back as I could remember, and it was just like, as soon as my eyes would wake up, it'd be just like, you putrid maggot.
Done it again.
You've done it again. And then this procession. You're a fucking this, you're a that.
Yeah.
And I haven't even got out of bed yet. So to answer your question, the drinking and the drugging and all that sort of stuff was what it was. But that wasn't what got me. It was that fronting up, paying the price. And there's always a price to be paid.
Yeah.
That's what it was, mate.
Because people think it all starts out all glimmer and glitz. But I might go have a couple of beers with the boys. It might seem fun at first. But it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
100%. 100%. And when you or when I start moving along and when I look at it, you talk about going and have a couple. Like, that was my famous lines were, I'll just go down for one. Like Sunday, Monday, I'd swear off it, never again. Please, God, get me out of this situation. I promise I'll never drink again. Please, God, let me get out of lockup. Please, God, let me get the girl back, whatever. Yeah. And I'd be so fucking fair income about stop until about Thursday. Then Friday would come around and I'd think, you'd be right.
Just one or two?
Just one. I'll just go and have one. And while I'm sipping it, I'm only having this.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got to about there, something had shifted. I'll just have one more.
Yeah.
And then it's fucking on again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it never ever got any better. It was like every single time I drank or I swore off it and then I went back, it was like it got worse, I got worse, the situations, you know what I mean? And I was losing more and more of myself.
So a lot of people at home will be able to relate to this. They might know someone in their family that drinks a lot. One of their friends might be their mum, their brother, their sister, whoever it may be. How did it affect you and those around you? Did you start to lose friends? Did it affect your friendships, your relationships, your job?
100%. It affected every area of my life, mate. And it affected everybody in my life. You know, from when I started, obviously I didn't have a family and all that sort of stuff then, but you know, it affected my mother, my sister. It affected all of my friends, and it just had a ripple effect. You know what I mean? It'd be like a ripple effect of people that I'd just fuck over. You know what I mean? The whole way through, somebody would always suffer a result of me going out just for one or two with the best intentions.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. And as your addiction got worse, did people slowly start to just deteriorate out of your life?
100%. You know what? I'd end up going to places and you know, you get invited to this, you get invited to that. You know, no one wanted me around.
No, yeah.
No, not only did people not want me around, they fucking despised me being around because I fucking ruined everything. Every night out, I'd either end up in a blue or 9 times out of 10, I'd end up in a blue or I'd get kicked out of here. And I was turning up to places at, you know, a young age. I wasn't even legally old enough to drink. And I'm getting letters from the coppers, from the management of these joints saying, if you step foot on the property again, we will press charges to the full extent of the law.
Yeah.
You're not welcome here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You just become a liability. Like there's some people that just shouldn't drink. You know, there obviously are some people that say, I'm right to go for a beer, and respect to them, you know, but some people just shouldn't drink, you know. We've all got that one mate that think, fuck, he's on the piss again.
100.
And it's true, you know, like
For sure.
I've still got friends like this. You think, I just won't invite him out on the piss, you know.
100%.
So moving obviously forward, you know, it's affected your life in every single way, you know. How are you feeling now, obviously, that you are clean and sober?
Listen, it's being clean and sober it's not a walk in the park. Do you know what I mean? Like, just because I stopped drinking doesn't matter. Doesn't mean life doesn't happen. Doesn't mean that there's not ups or downs. Like, I just made a video about this morning. You know what made me stop and what continued to keep me stop.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But you know, it's about making a decision every day that no matter what happens, whether you're up, down, in, out, you got to make the decision, or I have to make that decision, and the buck ultimately stops with me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
How do you think someone can identify when they do have a problem?
Social drinkers don't fucking look at their social drinkers don't have these type of concepts. Well, in my opinion, if you're a social drinker, you're not thinking about stopping drinking.
That's right.
You're not going home and saying to the missus, I've done all the pay. I've done this. You're out of the big bed. Please let me get back in the big bed. I won't drink next week. If you're a social drinker, you're a social drinker. And I'm not against drinking. I'm not against. I've still got plenty of mates that get on the piss.
Yeah.
But if you're asking that question, there's in my opinion, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And if it's costing you more than the money you're putting across the bar, it's a problem. And only you can answer that.
That's exactly
right.
You
know, nobody could have told me. Nobody could have told me, you know, you're this, you're that, you're the other. Ultimately, it's fucking up to me.
That's very true. You're the only one that can make you stop.
100%.
So for anyone that think that they may have a problem or thinking they might be going down that path, or even someone that they love, they've got a problem, what advice do you have to those people?
Well, in regards to somebody you love, I know. I mean, it's such a sad state of affairs. All you can do is sort of put the hand out and say, you know, like, fucking, what about this or what about that? It's hard to sort of talk about somebody with somebody else because, as I said, ultimately it's your own decision. But for me, what happened is I had to fucking get fair income with me. You know what I mean? And listen, I know right from wrong. Yeah. I know, fundamentally, I know what's fucking going on. Is it affecting me? Is it really affecting me? You know, and for me, it's about making a decision and it's about being fair income.
Yeah.
Standing up, not putting any conditions on it. You know, if this happens, I won't do this, or if that happens, I won't do that.
Yeah.
Fucking stop. Don't put the fucking thing in your mouth.
So you're 22 years clean and sober. What's working for you obviously is working for you, you know, and it might not be for everyone. But what's helping you and what's kept you clean and sober obviously till this day?
If you want to look at your future, look at your past.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It didn't lie for me. And I guess what helps me is looking at that. You know what I mean? I know me. I know me pretty fucking good. I know what I'm like when I drink. Yeah. I know what I'm like, you know. Mm. And it never lied. You know what I mean? It may have not been in trouble, that much trouble every single time, but there was always a price to be paid. Now, what helps me is, you are who you kick around. So I kick around people that are fucking, that are fair income. And again, my mates still get on the piss. They still do this, they still do that. But my mates, the mates that I've got, they protect my sobriety as fiercely as I do.
That's true. See, I've got a mate. He was just 7 months clean and sober. He was doing well, and not to say that he won't do well again, but he was killing the life of crime, all the rest of it. He thought he actually met this girl, and she says, "Look," she goes, "Oh, we'll have one beer," and that. How often you hear it? I'll be right to have one. I'm 7 months clean and sober. I can just have one. Now I know because I met you obviously in the rooms. People just say, "Just started with that one." What advice would you have to those people?
First one does the damage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'll give you a quick story. I had a mate and he was about the time that I'm sober now.
Yeah.
And this bloke had everything. He had money. He had fame. I'm not going to give him up, but this bloke, there's photos of him in the ring with Mike Tyson in Vegas. This bloke was
the real deal.
The real deal. He knew everyone. He was doing this. He was doing that. Killing it. Absolutely killing it in his life. And at 22, 23 years sober, he fucking had a Tooheys 2.2. Do they still make them? Like the little, the light beer, the lightest of light beer. He had a light beer, and when he tried to get back into the rooms, he's dead now, God love him.
Yeah.
When he tried to get back in the rooms, we come in on the same day, and he was drinking fucking Listerine.
Yeah.
He went from that, the absolute top of his game, 22, 23 years of recovery, more money than he could spend, houses, the whole, you would think, the whole lot.
Yeah.
And it all fucking went to shit from one to his 2.2, a light beer.
Yeah.
First one does the damage, mate.
It's so true, and a lot of people say they might have a problem with drugs or they might have a problem with drinking, and they say their problem's drugs. And this is advice, obviously, which you would have seen firsthand. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm all right to have a beer, that's not my problem."
Yeah.
But have you seen how that one leads to another?
Swapping the witch for the bitch.
You are.
I had this amazing ability, like when I was sort of getting off it throughout my times, I would convince my missus that I wouldn't drink beer or wouldn't drink rum, but I'd be okay on red wine, or I'd be okay having a smoke of this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, all roads lead to Rome. I don't entertain the thought of, you see them the fake beers in Woolworths or the fake. I don't fuck around with any of that. I'm solid in what I am. I don't entertain any of it. All roads lead to Rome for me. Now I'm not talking for anybody else. I talk for myself.
Yeah. But, this is something that we talked about as well. You do speak on behalf of yourself and you are staunch, just throughout. But a lot of people will be able to talk for you too, to be able to relate back to themselves, and what's obviously worked for you, I can promise you will be able to work for a lot of other people, and that's why I wanted to get you on here, because you say it as it is. You only talk what works for you, but what works for you will be able to work for a lot of other people. Now, you still go to the rooms. Talk about that. How often do you go?
So I go a couple of times a week. I spend quite a bit of time at the Glen. The Glen?
Absolutely.
I went to the Glen was my first meeting back this time, 24 years ago.
Yep.
And that is, it's a magic place. Magic happens there. And, mate, what do you say about a place like that? It's always full.
Yeah.
It's always full of blokes like me.
Yeah.
Either straight out of jail, fucked, knockabouts.
Yeah.
So for me, I spend quite a bit of time around the fire at the Glen.
Yeah. Well, the Glen saved my life.
Yep.
And that's obviously where I met you.
Yep.
To a lot of people that might have a loved one, people that are at home watching, that you might have a loved one, you might be struggling yourself. You telling them to get down there?
100%. The Glen, in my opinion, is probably the most powerful rehab in the world. In the world. It's it's an Aboriginal rehab. Anybody's welcome there. The meetings are around a fire, as you know.
Yeah.
All of the counsellors are there. They're all in recovery. They're all knockabouts. You can't bullshit a bullshitter.
That's right.
And what the Glen does is it's an introduction into the rooms with no bullshit. You know what I mean? Mate, there's people in the rooms I wouldn't piss on. There's people in the rooms that wouldn't piss on me. You know what I mean? I'm not everybody's cup of tea and everybody's not my cup of tea. But what the Glen is it'll give you a fair income look at it through a no bullshit approach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously the Glen's evolved and there's so many other different programs in there now.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's for blokes that are fucked, you know what I mean? And they've got nowhere else to turn. They go there and they can see, and I'm not pulling my own horn or anything like that, but they can see a bloke like me that's I'm still mad as a cut snake, or still whatever.
Yeah.
But I've managed to fucking do it. I've managed to do it despite ups, downs, ins, outs. I've managed to stay solid for 24 years.
And you talk about staying solid. This is the reason I wanted to get you on here, John. As I said to you, a lot of people out there are making a positive impact through social media, through sharing their stories. You know, look, your following might only be small now, but I mean this. I watch you every single morning. My mum watches you every single morning, which I only just realised. I refer you on to a lot of other people as well. You know, you wake up every morning, you're uploading daily, you know, and your content is fair dinkum. Now, people think recovery is all glitz and glory. It's going to be perfect. You know what I mean? You're going to stop farting. You won't get BO. Do you still have problems?
Brother, I've been sicker in AA. I've been sicker sober than I was when I was drinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been sicker in between the years than I was when I was drinking.
Yeah.
You know, I've had bouts of depression, you know, mental health, anxiety. You know, I've experienced it all. Like, as I said to you before, just because you get sober doesn't mean the bluebird of happiness lands on your shoulder and, you know, you never have another bad day. What it is it's life on life's terms. Yeah. And I've experienced, since I've been sober, I've been able to do the things I used to bullshit about in the pub, and I was a chronic bullshit artist.
Yeah.
I've been able to experience things that I couldn't go into how many of them and how big and what sort of impact they've had on me on this, because we don't have the time. But on the flip side, I've been dragging me knuckles on the ground fucked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I've been living in hell on earth, even clean and sober.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, life's never going to be perfect, but if you were to compare apples with apples, what life are you liking more?
All day. All day, mate. This is the biggest and the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And that Jack said to me, I like referring to this bloke. If you spoke to him, you know, he's a knockabout. He's mad as a cut snake, bloody 85 years of age. And when I got sober, I hung off him. I hung off him because I related. And he said to me, it's like this, you come in like that and you got blinkers on. He said, the longer you stay sober, the more this thing opens up, you know, the more the world opens up.
Yeah.
And he used to say to me, you know, you're on the tip of something so big, you've got no idea what sort of impact this thing will have on your life.
Yeah.
And I liked him, I trusted him, and I thought, if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me.
I love that.
And throughout the course of my time, you know, at 12 months, I thought, fuck me, Dad, that's what he's talking about. At 2 years, I thought, fuck me, Dad, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years, I'm like, it continues every fucking however long. I just think, how mad is that?
Because you're 50 now, aren't you, John?
50, yeah.
And you're looking well.
Yeah.
How good do you reckon you would have been looking through addiction?
I'd be dead. I was 26, I wouldn't have got to 27. And if I had got to 27, I'll tell you what would have happened. Yeah. My last drink, I was on my way. My missus and my eldest daughter, she was not even, she was maybe just 12 months. I was on my way up. They went to the Gold Coast, just before the Gold Coast. I was going up to kill them. I was going up to fucking kill them, I promise you, mate.
Yeah.
I drove my house through the garage, smashed the house to pieces, like through a few different events.
Yep.
I was going up to fucking kill him, and little did I know that after that bender, my life was to change forever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's powerful thinking that, you know.
Yeah.
Did you have any moments when you were in addiction where you thought, I can't do this anymore?
A million. I was standing on, is it Gladesville Bridge in Drummoyne?
Gladesville Bridge, yeah.
I just, I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed to say this, but I was at a wedding and once I started, I never wanted to leave the party, you know, and I was on the drink and my pregnant missus and my mum were begging me to get in the car and I dragged my mum out of the car and, you know, I was a fucking putrid cunt. Anyway, I got left, they left, and I got on the piss and I made it one of them nights, and I'm walking over Gladesville Bridge, and I'm just thinking to myself, after this turn of events, I'm thinking, my unborn kid's not here, whatever happened with the mother, I sort of, I'm jumping.
Yeah.
I'm fucking off this bridge, mate. I'm done. And that sort of thing had come up quite a few times, but it was, it was fucking.
Yeah.
It was at that point where it was either sink or swim.
Yeah. A lot of people. No one makes the right decision, necessarily the right decision, after a few drinks. A lot of people struggle with their mental health, anxiety, depression, whatever it may be. They might have just broken up with their missus. They think, I'll have one beer. Yep. Then it turns into 100. And then how many times have you heard, that one beer to that person, now they're not here anymore?
Yeah. Well, I think, and I do a Friday video every Friday. And generally speaking, I'll always talk about me. And then a few times I've sort of done them videos on a Friday of, is this Friday going to be the Friday? Is this Friday going to be the last Friday you're ever on this planet? Is this Friday going to be the Friday where somebody knocks you a drink and you whack them and you fucking kill them? Is this Friday going to be the Friday that you think that it's okay to get behind the wheel? And I was a habitual drink driver. If I was on the piss tonight, if I was on the piss here now, I'd fight you for me keys and I'd be driving back up to the coast.
Yeah.
Is this Friday going to be the Friday that you fucking, you crash the car into an innocent family? Our jails, our hospitals, our cemeteries, they're full.
Yeah.
They're full of people that went out with their best intentions.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, that thinking about, fucking knocking yourself or, it's a fucking long-term solution to hopefully what could potentially be a short-term problem.
That's so.
And you know what? Once it's fucking done, mate, it's done. There's no coming back. There's no coming back. They're not going to say to you, Maxie, fuck, Johnny Odd was a good bloke. He got 24 years of sobriety up. He helped this one. He tried to do that. He was a good fucking bloke. Let's give him another 10 years. Yep. Once it's fucking done, mate, it's done.
Because that comes the habit this Friday. So to anyone that thinks, this Friday, you now fight or you do something, what do you think that some of these people should do when every Friday they think, I'm going to going to go out and get on the piss? Then it comes to Monday and they're licking their wounds.
Well, as I said, mate, I say what I do, and listen, it still might pop up here and there. I think about it. I think it through, and there's a saying in the rooms, and this isn't about the rooms or not about the rooms. If you fucking got a problem, you got a problem. You either get off it through that, you get off it through this, whatever.
And it doesn't have to just be drinking.
Of course, this is right across the board. Doesn't matter what happens when you hit the ground. It's what you do when you get up, right?
Yes.
I think about what's on offer. Okay, well, that pub looks all right. Fuck, that barmaid's a good sort. That fucking beer, you're looking at all the stuff going down the outside of it. Everything's rosy. I'm strutting into the pub like a fucking good sort. It's a hot day. Surely it'll be right tonight. I think about that, and I think about sculling that first beer, and then I think about, one of the boys trying to fucking get me into the car to get me home. Fuck, I'm going home. Fuck, I'm not going anywhere, mate. It's just started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think about that barmaid that I call this, that and the other because she won't serve me any beer. I'll fucking chuck a schooner at her or something. You know what I mean? And then I think about what's on offer, what's truly on offer. And is it just that beer that looks really nice that's not really going to quench your thirst anyway? You know what I mean? I think about the roll-on effect.
I love that, Johnny. And that is a perfect form of advice for anyone that contemplates having a beer or making a stupid decision. Just for 1 second to think, you know what? Oh, it's a nice warm day. I'll feel good. But you know what? Weigh up the options.
100%.
How much death comes from it, how much problem, jail, mental health problems,
for sure.
Friendships you affect. And a lot of people out there should do that.
100.
Now you've obviously got into fighting. Obviously, you've been fighting for a while now, but this is something that you picked up because before, when you were in addiction, you were fighting on the street. Now you fight on the ring. Let's talk a bit about that.
So as I said before, I was a chronic bullshit artist. I always wanted to be something other than me. I was never ever satisfied with who I was. And when I was on the drink, I was either I played footy. I played rugby league.
Yeah.
I was either an NRL player or,
course.
one
Yeah.
Jersey flag,
Yeah.
fucking under 21s. I was either a NRL player, a pro boxer, or a pro kickboxer.
Yeah.
Or I was a big businessman. But they were really the three things. I always fucking wanted to be a fighter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought I was the maddest. Anyway, I got sober. And I always wanted to see if I was fair income. You know, did not whether I was tough or whether I had the, are you fucking fair income when it's time to be fair income? And I used to run around the neighbourhood, and there was a Muay Thai gym in Berkeleyvale up near my place.
Yeah.
It was called 108 Super League, and I loved Thai boxing. I loved Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And I seen these birds running around. I thought, you know what, I'm going to front them. So I went in front of them, and I said, can anyone go there? They said, yeah. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going down there. So I went down there, and luckily for me, I walked into one of the best gyms around in New South Wales in the time. This is going back 18, 19 years ago. You know, I had Daniel Richard was probably the biggest name in Muay Thai back then. You know, Adam DeBono. You had Jai Opatai's dad, you know, Tap.
Yep.
He was one of the trainers, his brother-in-law. So anyway, I've walked into this gym and it was a fucking star-started lineup. And these blokes changed the course of my life. I seen them kicking the pads, and I just thought, fucking how good's this?
Yeah.
Anyway, I started training, and then I just clicked with them. And from one moment to the next, I was part of the team. You know what I mean? I was training 6 days a week. I was older than all of them.
Yeah.
And me and Dan in particular, we were about the same weight, and we used to, mate, we'd go to war. Every time we'd spar, we were sparring 3-4 times a week, and it was fucking on. You nearly have to put a hose on us to settle us down, you know. And, you know, I end up having my first fight, and
How old were you?
mate, I was 29 when I had my first fight, and I didn't fight a shitbag. The bloke I fought went on to fight for an Australian title after I had my first fight.
Yeah.
I blew me shin out in the first round, and I had to get heaps. Anyway, I just fell in love, mate. I fell in love, and I'll tell you what it did for me. It not only did it teach me so much about me, but it also got me off me, if that makes sense. You know, in them times, like I was training for, mate, probably 17, 18 years with these boys, or with them boys, probably 15 years, but 17, 18 years, you know, a bad day at work, a bad day with this, a bad day in between my ears, fucking stuff's going on in there, I go training. Yeah. You know what I mean? Anything that was happening, the fight game saved my life on countless occasions. All that childhood trauma, all that garbage, you know, I had somewhere to go, I had something to do, and it was tough, you know what I mean?
So we talk about that, and obviously having a bad day, you know, and obviously you've been through a lot, you've been through fighting, but when you do have a bad day, how do you deal with it? Because a lot of people, you know what they would do, go get out on the piss. How do you deal with it?
Well, some days the best I can do is just not have a drink, you know. Other days on those days where the best I can do is just put one foot in front of the other, you know, like I still make mistakes, I still blow up, I can lose me cool and all that sort of stuff. But again, I always try and either move, I either try and get me off me, and generally when I get me off me is I try and provide service. This is what this is all about for me. I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't want to be a real good sort. I just want to do for somebody else that was done for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like try and drag some other arsehole out of that black hole.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I find that the more I do either for somebody else or the more I get moving, it gets me off me. You know what I mean? So that's what I do. If I sit and wallow in self-pity and listen to the orchestra going on in there, before I know it, you know, the bad day starts out here and then I'm adding to it. You know, you're right, you're a fucking putrid dog. Yeah. You're no good for nothing. You're this, you're that. And that's what this will do to me. Yeah. So I have to get moving, mate.
I love that, because we'll all have bad days in or out of addiction, you know. But
for sure.
So let's say someone that's in addiction that's having a bad day. What advice would you give to one of your mates or someone that calls you, say, fuck, Johnny, I'm doing it a bit tough? What are you telling them?
Mate, as I said before, no one could have told me. But if someone's fair income and they ring me and say, "Listen, I need this, I need help," I'll walk across fire to help them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think once you get fair income and you open up, you know, it's for me. I guess it's about making the decision, mate.
Yeah.
Like, is this working for you? Do you like fucking living the way you're living, or whatever's going on for you right now?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? I can't fucking do it for. I'll walk through fire with you, but ultimately it's on you. You know, like your life's going to go by like that. I'm 50 years of age, and it's like a blink of an eye. You know what I mean? And you're dead for a long time. What do you want to do, mate? Do you want to fucking spend it every couple of weeks? Right, you know, dragging your knuckles on the ground, apologising to this one, do you want a $2.50 life or you want a fucking $10 million life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And ultimately, what I would say is there's a decision to be made.
Yeah.
And when you make that decision, you got to accept it, and you got to stand by your decision, no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
If you make that decision, you make your bed, you got to lie in it.
Because a lot of people say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So to people that might be struggling, they might get a bit of time out. Do you think that that's something that they've got to be mindful of?
Mate, it's funny we talk. I had this conversation with a bloke this morning that's struggling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And bringing it back to me and my life, I'd go out with my mates, and my mates always knew that I was the bloke that had, if something started, I was the first to jump in. And my mates would go out and they'd pick fights, and I'd get pumped. I would get, I might pump a few, but I'd get pumped a lot of times too. And I'm lying on the ground. All my mates are standing around, clean, fucking whatever.
Yep.
You know what? I got sober. I've been sober 24 years, and I never spoke to fucking nearly any of them ever again.
Yeah.
Ever. So 100% you show me your friends, you fucking lie down with dogs, you get fleas. Now, I'm not saying everybody's like that. I'm only speaking for me, but who you kick around.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear, when you talk to me or you listen to this, one of my mates says this, this is the other side of the pub story. You got your pub mates over here talking all that bullshit, all that crap and all that, this, that and the other. Over is this is the other side of it.
Yeah.
This is what everybody doesn't see in the pub, you know what I mean? This is when you go home and you got to front the family, you got to front this, this is what it's about.
Yeah. My dad used to always say that to me. He goes, Max, you've got too many friends. And I'd say, fuck, what do you mean I've got too many friends? He said, mate, you really will be able to count your real friends on one hand.
1,000,000%.
You know, and whether you're clean or sober or whatever it may be, look, one of your mates still might get on the piss, but you see who's there for you. You know, it's not about who you've known the longest. It's about who's walked in your life, said that they're there for you, and they've proved it.
100%, mate. Listen, as I said, I've been on this planet for a few years, and I know heaps of people.
Yeah.
But I can count my mates, my fair income mates. I can count them on that.
Yeah.
I know heaps of people in recovery. I know heaps of people through fighting, and I know heaps of people through the building industry and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But my fair income mates, they know, and they can pick me straight away. One of them said to me the other day, we were at training, he watched me hit pads, he did this, did that, and he messaged me after. He goes, you all good? Yeah. He goes, you all right? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you just seem a bit flat, mate.
Yeah.
I thought, fucking, that's mad. And I was.
I love that. That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly. And that's a real person.
100%.
That's a real person. So how would you define a real friend?
A real friend for me is there no matter what. You know, you ring, you pick the phone up. That's it. And this friend, you don't have to see him every 5 minutes yet. But if you need them, they're there. They're walking over fire to help you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about money, and I'm not talking about materialistic. I'm not talking about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
They'll see that stuff. They'll see that. They'll be the ones that are fair income with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're drinking or you're drugging or you're playing up here or you're missing out there, they're gonna question it. Yeah. They're gonna say, "What's going on, bro?
Yeah.
What's going on?"
And why I say that is because, look, a lot of my audience that will be watching will be in the stage now where they'll be going out, getting on the piss, and they'll be thinking, I know for a fact, I thought, fuck, I've got all these mates. And then once I sort of pull my head in, and I don't say I live a perfect life, but I know who a true mate is, you know, for sure. Yeah. And you really start to observe that.
For sure. And that's what happens, mate. When either either when the shit hits the fan or when the lights come on, the fucking cockroaches disappear.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
So when a light is shined on whatever it is that's going on for you or whatever, you find out who's fucking solid and who's not. Or I did anyway.
Yeah. Well, there's so much that we take from you, Johnny. You're 50. You're even still talking about fighting. But what's your future look for you?
This. I want to be of service in any way, shape or form I can be. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I've got to make a living, so I'm still a roof tiler by trade, and it's an ugly job, but somebody's got to do it. But, for me, moving forward, I want to build on this. You know what I mean? I want to give away freely that was given to me. You know what I mean? I want to be of service to, I'm a big believer in blokes for blokes, birds for birds. I don't know what's going on in with a woman, but, I can sort of relate myself with a bloke. So for me, it's about, trying to build this up and seeing if it can gain momentum, like seeing if something can come of this.
Well, let me tell you, something has come of it for myself, and I just share my story. People can relate to me. I know for a fact, Johnny, that a lot of people are going to be able to relate to you. You've got the tattoos, you speak fair dinkum, you've been a mad pisshead, you've been a mad hothead, but you've come out the other side, but you still look the part. And I say that with respect, and all these other people that are out there, they're doing good work, but I follow you and I watch you every single day. And as I said, my mum does too, so for anyone that's home, I want you all to go and give him a follow. Mark my words, Johnny's going to blow up in the best regard, and I'm going to support him because I've gained a lot from him. I know you guys at home would have gained a lot from him as well. So I want to finish on this, Johnny. Yourself, what's some advice you would give to your younger self?
Don't stop. Don't give up, mate. Don't give up, because you could give up just before the miracle. You know what I mean? Like that long-term solution to what we said was a short-term problem.
Suicide, yeah.
Whether it's suicide, whether it's, keeping going down that particular road, drinking and drugging, there's a life beyond your wildest dreams on the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not a walk in the park, but you just got to fucking aim up, mate.
Yeah.
You got to keep pushing.
You got to.
100%.
And look, I want to say this at the end. A lot of kids will be looking at sort of your image, and they think, he must just be a tough guy. A young kid saying, I've got to get all these tattoos, got to roam the streets, got to try to start fights to be a tough guy. What would you say to those kids?
I'll tell you now, mate, I hated blokes with tattoos. When I was growing up, just very quickly, and this will be the last I speak of it, when I was growing up, my house was a bit like the Dewdrop Inn Centre, and I let one of my mates stay at my place this one night, and his old man was they called him Sarge, so I'm assuming he was the sergeant at arms at a club. I don't know which one, but he was a fucking scary dude. I let this kid stay at my place. He went off on his way, and then the next night, no one was home at my place but me, and his utes pulled up out the front, bashed on the door, and he said, "Do you have I shouldn't have said his name. Anyway, he said, "Did you have my house last night?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Is your mother home?" And I said, "No." And he grabbed me by the throat. He put a screwdriver to my neck. And he was fucking screaming in my face, like, "You fucking this, you don't," like, and I resented blokes with tattoos, mate. If you had tattoos when I was drinking, I'll fight you straight away. So I hated blokes with tattoos. If I was drinking and you had tattoos, I'd single you out straight away. So for me, the tattoos, mate, the only reason I'm covered in tattoos is because my skin's fucked from the building industry, and my best mate's a tattooist. Yeah. And I'm addictive. I started once I got sober, and I fucking went on with it like I do with everything. Yeah. So tattoos don't mean shit.
Why I say that, Johnny, is because, look, from this episode, from what you do, a lot of people will, and it's going to grow, they'll start to recognise you, and a lot of people might be standoffish. So to anyone that's at home that sees you and wants to say hello, what are you telling them to do?
Brother, say g'day. And if you're a drinker or if you're this or that and you see me, fucking come say g'day, buy you a beer.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I'm probably away from this facade. I'll fucking talk to anybody. Yeah, and as I said, mate, I'll walk over fire to help anybody out. I will do whatever I can to have people leave me better
Yeah.
than what they were when they found me.
You are like that. You know, I never leave your company feeling worse than I saw you. I always feel better in one way or another, you know. So, Johnny, I love you, brother. I can guarantee the people at home will, my man. But thank you so much for
Thanks,
coming
brother.
on.
Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you so much for another episode of Life's a Fight. If you're not following Johnny, go and give him a follow. His name is John Hyde if you're looking him up on Instagram. But he's definitely one to keep an eye out for. I'm going to do a lot more work with him because I know so many of you will be able to take so much from. Let's go.